With around half the world's population still offline, the mobile industry is in need of an economical means to bridge the digital divide. A new report from GSMA Intelligence highlighted how satellite and broader aerial connectivity can play a key role in addressing this challenge. Well, with me today are two representatives from OneWeb and Intelian, sponsors of the report. I'm delighted to welcome Eric Gillenwater and Edward Joannides. And I'm also delighted to be joined by the author of the report, GSMA Intelligence's Tim Hatt. Eric, Edward, Tim, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you.
Tim, if I can come to you first, there's a big focus in the report on how low Earth orbit constellations compare to traditional geo architectures. Tell us, how does low Earth orbit satellites really change what previous satellite generations have tried to do?
Yeah, well, really the big change is that low Earth orbit operates closer to the Earth's surface, which means you can have, and when you pack that with a larger number of satellites, you can have a higher throughput of connectivity to the ground. And so the business model has been really amplified by structural reduction in the cost structure, which means that more people can be covered through this type of connectivity, either directly or through backhaul solutions. And that really matters for consumers. We know that with global internet population at 50-50, there's still about 700 million people living in a coverage gap, and it also matters for businesses around the world.
So with that context, let's find out a little bit more about OneWeb and Intelian. Eric, Edward, how do you work? Perhaps I can come to Eric first.
Yeah, thanks, Justin, and thanks, Tim, as well. So OneWeb is a low Earth orbit constellation that is primarily focused around four verticals: enterprise, government, maritime, and aviation, and using a pure distribution partner approach. And what I mean by that is OneWeb works with our network or with our telecommunication or with our distributors partners is putting the solution, whether that's into the rural communities, whether it's to the enterprises. We're effectively, part of the network solution and not the overall solution, and working with partners such as Intellian.
Edward?
Yeah, so thanks for asking the question. So we have a similar type of business model. Effectively, Intellian, we're an antenna manufacturer. We're fully vertically integrated. We design and build our antennas from top to bottom in-house. And basically, we've been delivering antennas into the various markets for the last 17 years. We're actually number one ranking today in the global maritime VSAT industry, which is significant. As you know, the maritime world covers 70% of the world. A lot of our products are actually very similar to what is now going to be deployed on the ground, which is basically aggregation devices and end user devices. So we have a very strong position, and we have a B2B business model similar to the way OneWeb is proceeding, where we basically sell our products to distribution partners who then add their value and collectively put together the solution, including our product and the service from OneWeb, and sell it as a package solution to the end user.
So tell us a little bit about the kinds of use cases that we see linked to low Earth orbit networks, Eric.
The use cases that are jumping out really out front fast, and that's also with our service readiness coming up here in December, are really around the fixed vertical. And those are as following: mobile backhaul, where our solution is either the primary or the redundant part of the solution. Enterprise expansion, where you have multiple enterprise sites that need ubiquitous coverage across their WAN. A lot of this is actually being powered by SD-WAN and low latency applications. Community broadband, where OneWeb actually provides effectively the backhaul into an IP aggregated location, and then working with our local distribution partner, they then distribute that connectivity out to the rural population. Disaster recovery and also emergency services networks are some of the top use cases that we're seeing. Basically anything that has a low latency driver where a guaranteed class of service is required, enterprise-grade connectivity that can be used within our partners' existing telco or distribution partner portfolio.
So a wide variety of target markets, but thinking about businesses specifically, Eric, what sectors do you think would benefit most from LEO satellite?
I think that the sectors are the mobile backhaul providers are ones that will work, and this actually works very well from whether it's in developed markets where maybe our solution and maybe aligns more to being a redundant solution, or in developing markets where our solution can be primary. And our solution is very, very scalable. I mean, economically, the cost to it unlocks and enables new revenue opportunities for these developing markets. Enterprise expansion is a huge one. These mining verticals, resorts, wind power, solar, all these types of rural types of businesses are really, really empowered. And then also, communities as well. I mean, there's a lot of underserved locations, as we know, and power is a big cost in these as well. So it's not only need to provide the solution, but also be in a very power frugal way as well.
So how do people actually get service there? I mean, what are the timings to connectivity for OneWeb and Intelian?
So we have 3 rollout dates. In November of this year, November 2021, OneWeb service will be ready with 24/7 coverage from the 50-degree parallel north around the globe. So that effectively means Alaska, majority of Canada, Greenland, UK, Scandinavia, and some parts of Northern Europe. In second quarter of 2022, our solution will be available from the 22.5-degree north and south parallels. So what that means is that's going to be continental US, Mexico, continental Europe, Middle East, Northern Africa, some parts of Australia, South Africa, and Argentina, and then lastly, full global coverage by the end of 2022.
And this is a competitive market. So how does OneWeb and Intelian attempt to stand out? Maybe Edward can take that one.
Maybe just backtracking a little bit on some of the answers and mirroring Eric's comments. I would say from an Intelian point of view, we've been working with OneWeb for over 3 years. As part of our company culture, ethos, if you will, we always try to stay ahead of the curve. So our engineering teams, basically they deploy a lot of resource towards developing products that are as future-proof as possible. So in the case of OneWeb, we've been developing a number of apertures to cater for all these different vertical markets. For instance, the energy markets, or some of the transportation markets, or government markets, whether it's civil or military. We have a number of solutions that differ in size and form factor, which affects the use case and the ease of deployment and the throughput level, basically that can be attained with the product and the service combined. So we feel that we're well ahead of the curve because we've been working so far ahead with OneWeb and other LEO enterprise satellite operators. So we have a really good understanding of LEO tracking overall. I think from a technology point of view, we also bring to bear a lot of expertise in terms of ruggedness and be able to withstand environmental conditions that are far beyond the norm. If you look at the deployed antennas we have out there in the field, they have to be left alone. They have to be reliable. There's no one that can go on a ship, typically that's out in the wild, out in the wilderness. For instance, whether it's Canada, Alaska, or other remote regions, you can't afford to go and send someone to repair a product. It has to work. So we basically have the same culture that we've deployed in the maritime industry applied to these land terrestrial products, which I think is a big differentiator. We want to have products that basically can withstand the elements and that can work without anybody troubleshooting the device itself.
Closing thoughts, perhaps, Eric?
No, we're really excited. The customer feedback and the demand is really, really strong. We're working with Intelian as a partner, unlocking these use cases. As Edward mentioned, the durability here is extremely critical, not only from the user terminal perspective, but also from the connectivity perspective. When you're a community or if you're in an enterprise, you need to have predictability and accountability with the service that you're consuming. So thank you very much, Justin.
No, thank you very much. We're out of time, but that was a great discussion. The report is now available, so if you're interested in reading that, you can download a free copy at the link shown on the screen to find out how OneWeb, Intelian and Elio networks, well, reinventing the final frontier. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.